Thanks. Yeah, so thanks for being here. I'm going to tell you about the Live Green Heart project, which is part of the Grand Parc Garonne program. It's a big project of renaturation of the riverbanks of the Garonne River in Toulouse. The Garonne River is crossing the city right in the middle. And I'm going to speak especially about a project which is the renaturation of the Ramier Island, l'île du Ramier, which is right at the south of the city center of Toulouse. So just as an introduction for those who don't know, Toulouse, as you can see on the map, is in the south of France. And I'm going to introduce with a little word about the climate in Toulouse. As many of you may know, the south of France is getting very warm ultimately, and it's getting worse. We also have the average of annual temperature raised by 1.8 degrees within 60 years, which is a lot. The summer 22, we had an average daily temperature maximum of 31.5 degrees, which is very, very high, and 24 days instead of 11 beyond 35 degrees. In the summer 23, we recorded a new all-time high of 42.4 degrees. Considering the climate projections, with the intermediate scenario RCP 4.5 of the IPCC, we can consider a rise of temperatures by plus 4 degrees in average by the end of the century. Heat waves will be more frequent and more intense, and we'll have an extension of the very dry period, which increases temperatures and limits evapotranspiration of vegetation. So we have to expect more heat waves, more violent rains, droughts, flood, of course, etc. At the meantime, it's expected to have a reduction of 50% of the low water level in the Garonne River basin. Now it's important to note that the global warming that we just spoke about is accentuating the urban heat island effect. For those who don't know, the heat islands are urbanized areas that experience higher temperatures than outlying areas. Structures such as buildings, roads, and other infrastructures absorb and re-emit the sun's heat, whereas natural landscapes such as forests and water bodies emit humidity. In Toulouse, the measured nocturnal heat island effect is plus 4 to plus 6 degrees already. As you can see on this map, in the middle of the white circle, the area of the project that I'm going to tell you about is the north of the island, is very, very impacted by the heat island effect, by at least 4 degrees during certain nights in summertime. So I just told you the area of the project is the north part of this island in Toulouse. As you can see on this map, you can actually realize that this island is situated right above the very city center, the historic city center of Toulouse. So it's a strategic place to be renaturated. The island today, or let's say before project, because the project has already begun a little, is the north part, especially of the island, is really saturated with its infrastructures. Despite the presence of a remarkable heritage, both natural and architectural, the island remains underestimated. The saturation and the fragmentation of spaces, the omnipresence of parking lots and roads, has marked the decline of nature in the past decades. The idea after project is to make a great natural and leisure park developed in the spirit of the past. So the idea is to combine those different thematics: ecology, sports, relation with water, and culture and creation. As you can see on this map, the idea, the spirit of the project is to come back to what was the island before. Here you have a picture of the early 20th century, where you can see people going in the island, which was full of woods, meadows, and totally surrounded by nature. On those pictures as well, you can see people that are coming with boats, little boats, wooden, people that are swimming, but there was also a theater representation in the middle of the woods. So here you can see a satellite map of the north part of the island, which is, as you can see, almost fully with sealed soils. We'll talk about it later. And another satellite picture of the island in the 1950s. As you can see, the north part is almost full of woods, trees, meadows. You already have the swimming pool. It's the Nakash swimming pool. It's built in 1932. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So, of course, we're going to keep this infrastructure. And on this other picture, which is not a picture but a drawing of the project projection to 2025, the idea is to renaturate 10 hectares of the north part of the island. So as I told you, the objective of the project is, the main objective is to renaturate, but we decided within the Live Green Heart project to focus on the adaptation to climate change and to focus on the heat island effect, but more generally speaking, it's a nature-based solution project, so it affects many things like biodiversity, air quality, and other things. But we have this focus on heat island effect, but just to tell you that there are many other things. So the main objective is to reduce the heat island effect by -2 degrees in 2025 and -3 degrees in 2030, because trees take time to grow up, you know. The main actions implemented are the selective deconstruction of the exhibition park within a circular economy approach, and the unsealing of 10 hectares, as I just said before. Also, the agronomic restoration of degraded soil, and the plantation of 2,500 trees with local species adapted to climate change. Other key project indicators of this project. So we already spoke about the heat island effect. There is also the carbon dioxide emissions that are going to be monitored to get to -15% compared with before project. The fine particles emissions, -25%, and the carbon capture, of course, when you plant more than 2,000 trees, you can expect to get more carbon capture. The expansion of the riverside vegetation is another important part of the project, with the objective of widening, strengthening, and protecting the riverside vegetation with local riverside species of Garonne River. So the foreseen objective by 2030 is to get 3 times more riverside surface compared with today. Sorry, riverside is a French term, riverside vegetation, let's say. So this expansion is expected to get as impacts the restoration of the continuity and functionality of the riparian forest, the development of the aquatic and terrestrial biodiversity, and the decreasing of flood risks. These are the basic, traditional, well-known effects of the riverside vegetation, actually. To enter a little bit into details, just to tell you, this plantation of local and typical Garonne River vegetal species. Concerning the trees, we are going to plant ashes, alders, hazels, willows, poplars, elms, and maples. And at the end of this plantation, just before the pathway of pedestrian, we are going to add a wooden fence and an awareness sign so as to restrict human visits. We are not going to prohibit human visits, but we're going to inform them about biodiversity, about the functionality and the importance of the riverside vegetation, so as to restrict their access to this place. But people could always go if they want to fish in the river, for example, or if they want to run around the island. It's going to still to be possible. The restoration of degraded soils is also another very important part of the project, because actually we inherit of soils that are sealed that has been sealed for 70 years, which is a lot. So they are very degraded and dead. There is no any organism, not any worm inside of the soil, so it's not proper for make vegetation growing. So the idea is that the revitalization of soils is important to guarantee the longevity and of the future plantation. As you can see on the picture, on the left side of the image, we have an example of current soils. It's a picture that I took myself. You have at least the first 60 centimeters that are filled with anthropic and compact backfills. It's no soil at all. And the idea, of course, is to get a rich soil with humus and abundance and diversity of microorganisms and worms and nutrients for the plants. So as to get there, we made an experimentation with experimental plots, with 12 experimental plots, testing various modalities of soil constructions and various vegetation. We tried with 3 types of vegetation: the future vegetation of the park, which is ornamental grasslands, Mediterranean species, and Garonne alluvial woods. On the right part, you have an example of an experimental plot with the first 5 centimeters. It's combined it's been combined with compost and straw. The next 20 centimeters, it's just combined and mixed with compost. And until 60 centimeters, the soil is decompacted, and we removed the stones, the bigger stones, actually. So we are doing this with the philosophy of always a rational utilization of imported topsoil. So the idea is to import less possible topsoil. And the thing is to revitalizing the existing soil by decompaction, compost enrichment, and inoculation of microorganisms. And also we decided to reduce the topsoil for 3 pits from 12 cubic meters to 6 cubic meters. With this strategy, we reach 47,000 cubic meters needed instead of 93,000 cubic meters. So we divided by 2 the necessary topsoil importation. This is an example of a very symbolic example of the former parking lot Valeret, which is quite big. It's 1.2 hectares. And in 2021, it's the first piece that we unsealed and renaturated. You can see right in the middle of the picture, you can see some of the experimental plots that we implemented. So just to give you an example of the different steps concerning the unsealing, first we have to unseal the soil, then we enrich it with compost, and then we sow leguminous plant meadows. The leguminous plants have the power to stock, to absorb nitrogen from the air and to fill it in the soil afterwards. Today's progress of revegetation, we almost reach 4 hectares of revegetation, and as I told you, the soils are always enriched with topsoil and compost and sowed with leguminous and grass plants that fertilize the soil. So the circular economy is another important part of the project. the idea is reusing and recycling, so the philosophy is to make the construction waste into resources. So first, we decided to integrate the circular economy criteria into the public call for tender, which was 20% of the final mark. For this mission, we recruited a non-profit organization which name is CINEA as a consulting support. CINEA organized a field visit with invited stakeholders to identify all relevant resources on site before the demolition. And it results with 98% of reutilization in total instead of 70% required by law. To give you just two examples, for example, the crushing and the reusing of 100% of the asphalt and concrete of the whole former exhibition park into sublayer and surface of other roads in the city within a 20-kilometer radius maximum. And another example is the reusing of electric material by the NGO Électriciens du Monde to fully equip a new site for homeless persons in Toulouse. This project is also a scientific project, as I told you, and this is very part of the LIFE program, actually. We have some scientific partnerships with Météo France, who monitors and studies the impacts of renaturation over the urban local climate, who implemented 14 new stations in Toulouse. Walter, which is a startup that monitors and studies the air quality over the island and its neighborhood before and after project. The Museum of Natural History of Toulouse that monitors the island's biodiversity evolution before, during, and after project. The University of Caen-Normandie is executing a sociological study on the project perceptions by the residents of Toulouse. And we have also an institutional partnership with the city of Düsseldorf, Germany. Düsseldorf and Toulouse are partners since 2003, and we are sharing best practices and events within the frame of the LIFE project, the renaturation of cities and heat island effect, the circular economy, and we exchange with the city of Tunis as well. So to zoom a little bit into the scientific partnerships, the Météo France is quantifying the benefits of the park, is modeling the effects of vegetation, and also, as I told you, implemented new stations for the climate monitoring in Toulouse. So the implementation is 14 new stations put by Météo France, the measures that are released on the open data of the Toulouse Observatory, and meteorological modeling. The Museum for Natural History of Toulouse monitors the evolution of birds and flora, more specifically, over the whole island. We have, concerning the birds, we have 2 observations per year over 10 years. And concerning flora, we have the whole island inventories in 2020, 22, and 25 over 5 spots. And to give you just some part of the results, in 2023 we have 36 bird species observed against 21 in 2019. One of them, as you can see on these pictures, is the hoopoe, the black kite, and the firecrest. Walter, as I told you, is evaluating the evolution of air quality on the island and the whole city. On the island more specifically, but on the whole city with less details. A high-resolution modeling is expected on the island with a precision grid of 10 meters. And it's implemented by the installation of 6 microsensors on the island, plus 1 multispectral imager camera on a high position. It's on a building in the west part of Toulouse. Actually, it's the pink point that you can see in the middle of this image, if you can see it. And the crossing data and build a prototype of fine-scale modeling. The University of Caen-Normandie has more geographical and sociological approach. They are analyzing the evolution of the island's perception, appropriation, and social representations before and after the project. And these results in qualitative studies with interviews, quantitative studies with surveys, and research works, analysis, and reports. And at last, but not least, the partnership with Düsseldorf City, with whom we are sharing workshops. We already did 2 of them, actually, workshops on climate change adaptation of cities and sharing of good practices. The simultaneous photo competition with the, concerning the Düssel and the Garonne River landscaping project. Seminaries for Eurocities, for example. Partnership with Tunis and the Climate Twins project, Düsseldorf, Toulouse, Tunis, with the idea that by the end of the century, Düsseldorf will have the climate of Toulouse today, and the climate of Toulouse today will be the one of Tunis. And of course, these all actually results to the development of the cooperation between Toulouse and Düsseldorf. Just to give you some more elements of the project that are not part of the Live Green Heart project, but just some interesting elements to add to precise, because these are important part of the landscape, the whole landscaping project of the island. We are making 2 walkways, this one of the southeast and this other one in the northwest. These are only bicycle and pedestrian bridges. And they are 5 meters wide. And also this playground area that has been built has been thought like a birdhouse, a huge birdhouse, which is totally integrated into the nature with trees around and inside, and other also vegetation that is climbing on it. And that's it. Thank you.
So, thanks a lot, THÉLÈME. Impressive and well in time, even more than in time, so we have more space for a small discussion here. Yes, it's part of the LIFE family, the LIFE Climate Action, which is the 2nd youngest kid in the LIFE family of the 32-years-old LIFE family. So it started in 2014, being a separate sub-program, and since then we are funding or co-funding, contributing to these fantastic ideas. About 250 projects under climate action. Half of them are more or less for climate change adaptation. The entire volume actors invest, it's almost reaching $1 billion. So it's quite a lot, but when you break it down to the individual projects, it's of course something in the range of a couple of million euros. I think the LIFE project, just tell me how much is what you invest?
3.8 million, including the partners.
So that's the entire budget, and out of the 60% or 55%, the Commission is contributing, or the LIFE program is contributing to this. But the investment is, of course, much bigger. I mean, we are talking about a couple of dozens of million, I think, for the island.
Thousands of millions. It's more or less 100 millions for the whole landscaping project of the island. Yeah. So the LIFE project just it's not that it just brings it's important, of course, but in terms of budget, it's a very small part actually. But it brings many things on the renaturation, on the restoration of soils, which is a very, very important part, and it brings everything on the scientific partnerships. So the studies over what does result when you are renaturating 10 hectares. in terms of meteorology, in terms of air quality, in terms of biodiversity, in terms of soils, the life in the soils and everything.
So that's a really optimal setup that LIFE is providing funding to do some demonstration, to pilot. Does it convince the public or the politicians? I mean, is this also one objective to tell them, okay, here we have these demonstration plots and this is what works best and this is how we should go or roll out on the entire island?
It's a good question. It's very complicated because it takes time, and the politicians don't like to waste time. It takes time to study the soil, and all the scientific are telling us that 1 year, 2 years, it's not enough, and the politicals they say, so what are the results of your project? So we are always trying to get results that are interesting to communicate to the public, but it's always the difficulty between the scientific part, which is which has a high uncertainty and which take time, and the political part. But we are beginning after 3 years. Actually, we are beginning to have interesting results. So yes, we are just beginning to be convincing, let's say.
I mean, the other challenge, of course, is we are dealing with nature-based solutions. And I mean, it's almost impossible to plant a tree and to have 3 years after results. So, I mean, you install a heat pump and you can measure immediately the energy saving you have after one winter. So this is the big difference between energy efficiency and then when we go to the adaptation part. Let's see or hear whether there are questions or comments from the audience to what you have been hearing. I know the adaptation or resilience part plays a smaller role in this forum, and you're more interested in the energy part. But nevertheless, with the Covenant of Mayors and the Sustainable Climate and Energy Action Plans, you have the climate part in it, and local authorities have subscribed also to work towards a more resilient city and to include adaptation measures into your investments. Even if you do a home renovation, I wonder whether on this island, when somebody would build a house, whether you would put all the electrical installations in the basement, and then you have the next flooding, and you cannot enter your house anymore because you get electrocuted because...
You wouldn't have the right to build a house anyway.
Okay.
On this island.
So questions, please, from the audience. Yes, please. There should be a microphone there. Okay. On the back, you have somebody who will get you the microphone.
Right. Thank you. I'm Elis Volmer from Estonia, University of Tartu. I have a very... the question is kind of like involved in the stakeholders and the land ownership, because I kind of assume that the whole island is not owned by the city itself. So how did you resolve this, engaging the key stakeholders on that island to motivate them to be engaged in this kind of complete overhaul of the island? And how did you resolve this land ownership issues? Thank you.
Yeah, yes, it's a question that we often have. Actually, since the beginning, we have Toulouse is owner of most of the island. It's I think like 70% of the whole surface, and many places on the island are rented by the city of Toulouse to private entities. But sometimes we had to wait, and that's why the project took so much time for some part of it. To wait until the end of the renting contract to get back the power on this part, but yeah, basically we own most of the island since the beginning, so it helps a lot.
There's another question on the other side.
question about how many persons from the municipality have been involved in this project, and how
many persons within the city of Toulouse or in general?
Yeah, in the city of Toulouse, yes, in the project
We
development phase and implementation phase.
At the very beginning, he was alone. In 2012, the idea of the project began. He worked alone during some years, I guess, and now we are 5. We are 5 working on it, 5%.
And what background you are in that? So they are all environmental engineers, or also landscape architects, or you have been, How much did you do the work yourself, and how much did you have to contract from the outsource?
I don't know exactly in which year they contracted an architect, but of course we have professional landscapers and architects that are working on it. I don't remember the English word for maître d'œuvre, but a team of professional landscapers that are designing the whole project, and we are giving the instructions. We are following up what they produce. We are actually working together with them all the time to design it together, but they are the professional landscapers.
Okay, thank you. Very
It's
interesting.
been 4 or 5 years at least.
Thanks.
More questions? Oh, it's a sports event also here. You have to go now to the opposite side.
Hi, my name is Aleksandra Miłobenska. I'm from Visa Europa, placed in Warsaw, in Poland, and I congratulate you on the initiative and putting it into life. However, also regarding the new European Bauhaus initiative and nice nature-based solutions, I would say that everything gets better, but at the same time the prices of the in this slot are getting higher. So we have a problem with gentrification. And have you already considered that? Because we already see it in Poland when we have even small contribution of the city, its finance, it's very well designed, and everything is in plus. But the people who are living in the area, they would still enjoy living there, but the rents are getting higher, and at some place they have to leave the area that they loved, that they had the connection with, the historical connection, and even though we all value such solution, it creates a problem that it's very hard to be spotted, when it starts, and also to solve it in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very political question, I think. But actually, for our project, we are not concerned by this subject, because the whole island is in flood risk. It's how do you say? It's a red zone. You don't have the right to build anything on it. So there is no pressure. There is no pressure about housing. There are just some houses, some buildings that are social buildings, social district. It's controlled by the city, and there are some private buildings as well. But that's all. They are situated in the south part of the island. But since 2010, you don't have anymore the right to build anything on the island. So it's actually the perfect situation to renaturate, to make a public park, because there is no pressure. There is no pressure for housing, Okay. I don't know if it answers.
I understand that. However, I think that even the neighboring areas would have the increase in prices. But as I said, it has great value. It's just that in Poland, we already see that there is the dark side of very nice project that should be just, counted as a great opportunity for everybody. But during the transition of the big areas, there are some vulnerable groups that should be accounted to, and we should look at some effects that weren't expected. Thank you very much.
I personally totally agree with you, but I think that's part of the social politic that has to be, implemented by the city, actually, I guess.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oui, bonjour. Actually, I like to. I'm vice mayor of my little town, and we are pretty new on getting into sustainability. And we come from a place which has stayed pretty traditional to their way of life and so on, pretty close to the countryside. We're by the sea. We're in the south of Spain, so we have very much same problems as Toulouse, and very much the same character. So my question is, has it been difficult to kind of get people in the mood of, is it difficult to convince the citizens to really start innovating and bringing all these new sustainability reforms to Toulouse, to your city? Because that's what I'm just starting, and that's one of my main concerns. Whereas there's going to be not complete, because it can never be a complete, but a main understanding of what is going to happen, and that's actually good for the city. How do you deal with that? How do you present it to the people so that they are happy?
There are different kind of people. But most people in Toulouse are beginning to expect the city to do things, to act against the heat. So there is no debate about it, and the project was, politically, it was 100% shared by all political parties. So politically speaking, it's very secured. Most of the people are expecting a natural place. So it's easy. Everybody agrees, you know. Well, when you are regarding into details, of course, there are different ways of seeing it. But mostly people agree with that. The problem might be about, for example, the restaurant, the private, sellers that are already on the island. They, for example, they don't want us to destroy the parking lots, because we are destroying some parking lots to make to plant trees instead. But they don't want, because they say that if people can't go with their car, they won't go to the restaurant. But actually they are wrong. Actually there are many studies about it, and often the stores, the restaurants are against the policies that take out the cars, but they are wrong, because statistics shows that actually eventually they have more customers when the city has pacified, when cars are taken out and there are more bicycles, more pedestrians that pass by. So you have to tell them the truth. That's all.
And they need to believe me.
Yes, exactly.
Merci.
I think that's one of the challenges we have, that we still consider nature-based solutions as a nice-to-have feature. But we have to realize that it's not anymore nice to have, it's going to be a necessity. And I think what you demonstrated with also the partnership you're having between Tunis and Düsseldorf, that you really look into the conditions of various climatic situations in the different cities, and telling then the citizens, look, I mean, we may have the climatic conditions of Tunis pretty soon if we continue like this, and the scientific evidence shows it very clearly that 6 degrees higher temperature in the city center by an overall increase of temperature means that you have probably double of tropical nights, maybe soon triple of tropical nights, which is not the problem for young people and the joggers jogging there, but for the elderly people, for the children, that is going to be an issue. And I mean, we are also having projects with other local authorities, Sevilla, for example, which is also in a very delicate situation in terms of heat island effects, where they're trying to find solutions. Where can we create microclimate relief zones for particularly vulnerable groups in order to protect from 40 and more degrees heat in not only in summer, even early spring times and late autumn times when they have this kind of situation. So I think this is a big challenge, of course, for politicians to convey this message together with science. And I think this is also a very good example that science gets together, a museum gets together and try to make the link between what does nature protection mean, climatic change mean, but then also the social component of it, the participation of the different actors and the ones who are then finally benefiting then from this. And I think that's a very good example. Are there more local authority representatives here who are facing similar problems or issues to sell trees to the citizens or the planting of trees to citizens? No? Let me check the time. Yeah, we are coming close to the coffee break, but I think since we are having a coffee break right afterwards, we can still have a couple of minutes. Here also because we started a bit late. So more questions from your side? Okay. One in the back. So sport activities continue. There will be another adaptation session where sport fields will be one of the features. So please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Michael Tendonker from Enviros in the Czech Republic. I was actually wanted to ask about financing. Are you planning to, let's say, finance all investments from, let's say, municipal money, or you're trying to attract external money? I'm also asking because there are new initiatives where we are trying to, let's say, attract private funding for climate adaptation. So I was wondering if you have given that a thought.
Well, excuse me, what structure, what entity are you working for?
We're a private consultant, but we're involved in a new, let's say, now Horizon Europe program, a project, Climate Fit, is actually trying to attract private funding into adaptation measures, which is, you need to find, let's say, a business case for such funding. But I was just wondering if this is something that was considered already.
I think I have some colleagues here that may speak with you afterwards. But actually, the financial plan is already done. As I said before, the landscaping project is getting prepared since like 10 years, and the money for the project is already planned, but still we are looking for other financiers, and we are applying for the LIFE project. This is already done, but we are doing other applying to other European funds and national funds as well. That's the region and other departments of Toulouse city that is working on it. The Green Fund, for example. Okay. But that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's a very relevant question, and we heard this this morning from the city of Zagreb on that they issued green bonds. I think the city of Paris, they have been one of the early actors on issuing this kind of green bonds and social bonds, and they also included adaptation part in the green bonds. Of course, it's that time it was a relatively small part because the major part went to rehabilitation or investments into the transport sector, for example. But they also issued bonds for more resilience of infrastructure and areas of the local authority. So that's, of course, also something to look into this.
Yes, I'm not personally working on it, so I wouldn't be the best, the best person to talk about it. but maybe we can exchange afterwards. Yes.
So last final question.
Sandrine de Ternay from Albertville City in France. So I was wondering if you have a part of a project directed to the food production, because we also have a lack of arable soil to produce food and to be resilient. So when we renurture some species, we also think about it. Do you have that
yes,
on your island project?
A little bit, but it's not an important part of the project. But yes, in the north part of the project, we already landscaped a little garden, which is a little like producing, a community social garden, which is connected to the social restaurant, which is in the north part of the island. And in the south part, we're going to make a really bigger garden, community garden of 1 hectare. But this is more complicated with the soil, because you need to be sure that the soil is not contaminated at all, because you're going to produce food that you're going to eat. So we have to bring a lot more topsoil from outside to get this garden really clean.
And how do you manage the I don't know the name in English. Pour
French?
entretenir the gardens and the forest, have you got some citizen management, or it's only the city?
The city is in charge for that. Maintenance, I don't know, what would be the English, yeah? Yes, for the gardens. The management, the maintenance of gardens. The direction for green spaces of the city. But it's sometimes a bit hard to work with them, because they have limited, resources. So sometimes they don't want us to make more green spaces. You have to speak, to be into the dialogue with them. Yeah.
I mean, maintenance, of course, is also one issue. We have one. Or we are co-funding one a rather similar project in Vienna, where they have a Danube island, and they did some bit of, not at this scale what Toulouse is doing, but interestingly, they're using grazing by sheep to combine the shepherd. Business with a, let's say, sustainable way of maintenance. So that seems to work pretty well. Also in Lisbon, they engaged in this and use this. So I wonder whether...
Yes. We began to do it in Toulouse as well. They are using sheep to maintain the green spaces. But we wouldn't be able to do it in the island, because it's a flood risk. So you can't bring any animals. Yeah, that's the law.
Well, except ducks, probably. Ducks, which then can do the grazing.
I don't know. That's a good question. But they don't eat herb, I think.
Okay, good. I hear noise outside already. It's 15:30, and I'm also getting the sign that this is also a networking event here, so there should be sufficient time for the networking. So please have a look again at the stands outside and mingle with them, and also mingle with the adaptation side. There are not very many people here, but just consider, when you talk about planning, city planning, about investing in energy, how to make your investments also climate proof and safe for the next extreme weather event. So I thank a lot in the name of the Live Climate Action Program here, and we will have a half an hour break for coffee until 4 o'clock, and afterwards there will be the last breakout sessions, 3 sessions again. And of course I have to make a little bit of advertisement for the session which takes place in room number 4. where the Solar Impulse, Bertrand Picard, will not be there, but almost. So they will also talk about what they're supporting in terms of climate change adaptation in cities with their 1000 Solutions initiative. So I hope to see you there in that room, and thank you very much for the attention, and an applause to THÉLÈME.